Hey all, this is Andreas, and this is the finale, and I'm not wearing the headphones, because there's no reason to if I'm not listening to any music. Yeah, it's actually colder now. It is thing like over the last 2 days, like the temperature, it has like swung like enormously and stuff there, like it's been where like it was really mild for like a really long time. Like earlier on in December, it was actually really, or at the end of November, it was like really cold for like 4 or 5 days, and then it got like really mild, right? And it was almost like spring temperature or autumn temperature at least, right? It was almost like 10 degrees Celsius. Like the highest it was like 11 or 12 degrees Celsius, which is absolutely crazy. Like in November, in December and stuff that like. But now, like during the night, it's like cold and stuff that, and then like that affects the room and stuff that and everything. And yes, I do have a light right here, which is very powerful now, which is so good because it helps, and stuff that. Because it was really annoying just having a smaller like light like this before in the room, because then I couldn't like. You would get like way more tired when like playing games and stuff that when you don't have a proper light. But anyway, I've already made the earlier today, early in the morning. I did finish up the list, the part 3 of the finale list, the top 20 PC games of all time. And yeah, so it was rough doing it because certain games you will probably not agree with the order of some of these games. Like some of these games probably should have been higher, and there were certain games that I definitely wanted to try and get as high as possible, like Grim Fandango. I definitely didn't want to put that low because Grim Fandango made a lot for me. I didn't get it when the game quote unquote first came out. I got the game like later on and stuff like that, and that was actually because of the Swedish PC Gamer putting it very high on their list. Although were it really their list, because the main problem with Swedish PC Gamer is sometimes they would take takes from the English PC Gamer and from like other PC gamers, and then they would use translator text and stuff like that, right? And so they would sometimes use certain Swedish words and stuff there, but it's still like, it doesn't feel like that person reviewed it. And I was someone that I remember at one point, they had like a voting thing where people could vote like, oh, how do you want PC Gamer to change? Like, what type of reviews do you want more of or less of? And I wanted to have like more proper like actually Swedish reviews, and not have them like translate reviews from overseas, because then it doesn't feel like it's another person like reviewing it. It doesn't feel like the Swedish person is actually reviewing it at all. Now, certain text did get better, of course, because certain ones wasn't used translating certain things over, because if there was a certain specific joke that the person was telling in English, that wouldn't work like in Swedish, so they would have to come up with something else, but still. And I do remember there was like a top 100 list that they did in PC Gamer with like top 100 PC games, and there were like a lot of good games, and usually most of the games that were on the list were games that they review in PC Gamer. And I do remember number 1 being like Grim Fandango and stuff that, which for a lot of people was like really shocking, that people thought that, oh, Half-Life was going to take it, Half-Life 2 was going to take it, or other games, and stuff that, and then it was just crazy, right, Grim Fandango. And I do remember Grim Fandango scoring like, what was it, 95, 96 or something like that. Which, by the way, 95 or something like that, I believe it was Max Payne got. I do remember Mafia getting like very high as well in PC Gamer. Stuff like that. And Max Payne 1 specifically got very high, because Max Payne was like revolutionary. Same thing with GTA 3, but I think GTA 3 got, Grand Theft Auto 3 got like 93, I think it was that it got. I don't think it got a 95. The highest something else I've gotten in Swedish PC Game, I believe, was a 98 or a 99 maybe, but it might have been, was it Half-Life 2 that got the highest ever thing score in? I forgot. I know that Grim Fandango got very high and stuff, that, especially considering the type of game that Grim Fandango is, because yes, it's a point and click, but you can control it with the actual WASD and stuff that, which is interesting, because, he turns around, he doesn't like strafe, and stuff like that, but yeah. But anyway, so these are the top 20 best PC games of all time. So there were a lot of games that got removed, of course. I've already talked about those in part 2 and stuff like that, and you can check part 2 in the comments there to see like all the games that got removed and stuff like that, but yeah. And all of these are like 100% like masterpieces in score, so they all have like the same score and stuff there, but of course, like, so yeah. So the number 20 We have NOLF, No One Lives Forever, and stuff like that. So yeah, yes, it's a very, very good shooter. It's very, very unique, but, as far as shooters go, yes, it felt like very, very unique because it doesn't feel like James Bond-esque because of the fact that, yes, you're Kate Archer, you're a female, and stuff like that, but yeah. But then also it had like very, very unique music and stuff like that, right? But it often felt like back in the day, if you would play it, it could feel like frustrating because, of course, certain of your missions get kind of sabotaged and stuff like that, right? And it feels like really like there's nothing you can do about certain things, right? But it is possible to do a lot of like stealth in the game and other things, but yeah, but it's very, very interesting. And at number 19 we have Quake. Just the OG Quake. Quake was the only one of the Quake games that made it because I kind of tried to make a rule to only have like one game from each franchise, right? So like Quake 2 got eliminated, Quake 3 Team Arena got eliminated. Same thing with the Half-Life, like Half-Life 1 got eliminated. Opposing Force got eliminated and stuff like that, right? The only thing when I didn't do that with was technically with Unreal and stuff like that, right? Because you will see that later on, but anyway. So Quake at number 19. And Quake 1 specifically, but yeah, because, I know how much of an impact Quake 1 had. And Quake was a very, very important ending because there were a lot of devs that kind of wanted to use the Quake engine for certain other games and stuff like that. Heck, I believe it was Nukem Forever was actually going to be on the Quake engine, but I forgot. I don't think it was the regular Quake engine. I think it was Quake 2, specifically what was used in Quake 2. I don't think they went for what was used in Quake 3 when they started making the Nukem Forever as of that. But anyway, at number 18, we have the only Command & Conquer game, and I decided to go with Tiberian Sun. And I know, like, right, most people probably would have gone with Red Alert because I have the PC Zone magazine somewhere. I still have it, even though it's pretty damaged. I have the PC Zone magazine somewhere. PC Zone was a really good English or British gaming magazine. And the Red Alert got like 95% in that, or something like that. And Red Alert 1 was just so fucking impressive when it came out and stuff like that. But Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun was my first Command & Conquer that I owned myself and stuff like that, like not counting owning, like, I think I had Red Alert actually on the OG PlayStation as well, but I think I ended up getting that later because of the fact that I enjoyed Tiberian Sun and stuff like that, but yeah. But Tiberian Sun was, oh man, it was so freaking good. And I'm not, you might think that, since you're a paladin, like a protection tank and stuff that, you like the GDI and stuff that, nah, but I'm Nord Brotherhood. Stuff that, like Kane as a villain is really, really good because actually Kane is sympathetic, and stuff that, and you actually, like, I don't know if it's a thing with how the game is made, but it feels like you want to side with Nord, even though Nord is evil, and yes, they do some terrorist stuff and stuff like that, but it feels like you want to ally yourself with Nord right out of the GDI and stuff like that, because it's what, like, Global Defense Initiative, right, GDI, or whatever it is, but yeah. Anyway, at number 17, we have Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, yes, the only Grand Theft Auto on there. And yeah, it was up against 3, of course, but, San Andreas is just the better game technically. Now, technically, 3 was bigger in terms of, like, that it was more of the revolution and stuff that 3 made, like, going from 2. Although, technically, if I would have gone with my personal favorite, then I would have gone with Grand Theft Auto 2, but I never really owned Grand Theft Auto 2. Like, I managed to download a certain version of Grand Theft Auto 2 from somewhere and stuff that, but yeah. And stuff that, like, I never owned Grand Theft Auto 2 myself and stuff that, but yeah. But Grand Theft Auto 2 was really, really special, for example, and stuff that, but yeah. But when it comes to the 3D ones, are used way, way bigger, right, and stuff that, but yeah. And San Andreas was, of course, really, really the peak. I feel like because, Grand Theft Auto 4 and 5 I had on console and stuff that, And for 4 specifically, I did get all of the DLC for it and stuff that, but yeah. And also, of course, underrepresented is like the PSP Grand Theft Auto games. I think I get both. I know I got Liberty City Stories, but I did play Vice City Stories also somehow. But didn't they release like a version of like the Vice City Stories on like console or whatever, right? Like Liberty City Stories, I do have on the PSP because I have the guidebook for it as well, and stuff that like and stuff that. But actually, both the Vice City Stories and the Liberty City Stories are both like very very impressive, like because they're on the PSP and stuff that. And PSP was very impressive because there are people who say, "Oh, the PSP is PlayStation 1 graphic," but that's kind of untrue. It's kind of more like a middle ground to the PS2. It's not exactly as good as PS2 graphics, although some can argue that it's actually better than PS2 graphics in certain ways, right? Because because you can clearly tell that Medieval Resurrection looks way better than the first Medieval game. So that then you realize, okay, yeah, the PSP is stronger than the original PlayStation, but is it as strong as the PS2? I mean, there are like similarities and stuff there, but the PSP was like really, really impressive with certain games. There were some really impressive stuff on the PSP. And the PSP was my actual first handheld. So that because I never got a handheld like way back in the day and stuff that. So so the PSP was my first one. But the PSP was so impressive, especially with the UMD videos, because it was basically you could get DVD quality videos, but on the small screen. And then because of the small screen, it felt like that it looked better than DVD movies just because the screen was so small and stuff there, which was actually a very, very brilliant move. And I have only got one of the UMD videos, and I got the one that you got when you got the PSP here in Europe. There was a thing. I don't remember if it was a code or whatever that you did, and then they sent you the movie, or if you just got the movie immediately when you bought the console. If they had like the movie there, right, that they went and got it and stuff there, because yeah, I had the Spider-Man, the UMD movie. So that was the first Spider-Man movie. So yeah. Same thing, of course, with the PS3 is when they made it so that with the PS3 you could get the Casino Royale sent to you and stuff that, which was really, really cool. But yeah. At number 16 we have the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, or TES Morrowind. So yeah, I actually normally wanted to rank this higher, but I feel like against the things that are on this list, it is hard to rank it higher than that and stuff that. But yeah, but I love Morrowind a lot and stuff that. Although it does have issues and stuff that, and like yes, both Oblivion and Skyrim is just a better game. But technically, when it comes to RPG elements, technically Morrowind is better because Morrowind is. You could say that Morrowind is both more complex, but then it's like Morrowind is just so much easier to break than Oblivion is. Although there are things that are unique with Oblivion. I mean, in the original Oblivion, certain stats were really hard to raise, but in the remaster, they made it like really, really easy to raise the stat. Hence why I like the remaster so much. But if it's like more of a remake, because of the fact that I feel like something is more of a remake. Because you used to say, oh, then the game has to be built from the ground up. But the fact that they changed the way the stats worked, because before it was like, oh, depending on what you leveled, that decided what stats things you were able to get when you level up. So every like single skill like armor, light armor, heavy armor, all of these were connected to a certain stat attribute. So that, for example, Mercantile was linked to your what was it? Because it wasn't charisma you had. It was something else. Yeah, because personality, right, or whatever the stat is. Right, because yeah. So certain things are linked to certain stats. So the only way to raise certain stats up, for example, was to go with certain specific skills. So if you wanted to raise luck, that was really, really annoying and stuff that. So yeah. So they made it better used with how they change things, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, Morrowind at number 16. And at number 15, which this might sound really crazy that I have other shooters above this, but at number 15 we have Half-Life 2 and stuff that's yes. And it's not that I don't like Half-Life 2, I know how big it was because I got Half-Life 2 immediately when it came out and stuff that, I even speedran Fallout 2 because Half-Life 2. Because Half-Life 2 is interesting when you speedrun it because there is a lot of things you can skip and you can kind of bunny hop. around in FF2 and getting good at the vehicle segments, like knowing what to do in the vehicle segments. And there are also the points where you don't need to stop with your vehicle, which, normally you do because, the exploration is good because normally you want to go through the game slowly, but there are ways to go through the game fast and stuff like that, and go through the game fast and like dodging like the man hacks and stuff like that, and knowing when to shoot with certain weapons. Like the handgun in that is so much better than a real handgun. The handgun is actually very, very strong actually, because the handgun, because it kind of has the Max Payne effect, because Max Payne 1, for example, as I said, you need to beat it on all the difficulties except for the speedrunning difficulty in order to get the true ending. So someone hasn't beaten the game if they have just played through it once. You need to play through it on all the difficulties for me to count you as actually beating the game. And the thing that you learn is that certain guns that you might think was really, really bad are really, really good. Because on the hardest difficulty level, enemies are bullet sponges unless you headshot them. And the Desert Eagle, unlike the Beretta, right? Like the Beretta, sure, you can headshot with it. But the Desert Eagle is so much better at headshotting, and you don't want to do dual wielding at all because you waste more ammo. When you dual wield, it's easier to go through ammo. Although if you're up against multiply enemies, then it might be better to actually dual wield and stuff, that especially if you abuse bullet time. But you want to actually be headshotting with the Eagle. And the Eagle actually has pretty good accuracy, because not all the handguns has the same accuracy. I think it's about your aiming. So, and then of course when you get the Colt Commando, you want to go for headshots with that as well, but yeah. But FF2, really absolute fantastic, and stuff like that. And I haven't played through it fully on Steam yet and stuff like that, because yeah. It has achievements, of course. Now, sadly, of course, Half-Life 1 and Opposing Force and Blue Shift do not have achievements for some reason on Steam. And it feels like, why not? Like, you made them like really, really cheap on Steam at one point. Or I think at one point they were even free or whatever it was. But yeah. But it was just absolutely crazy. Like, why not do achievements for Half-Life 1, and Opposing Force and like Blue Shift and stuff that, like, because, Because here's the thing, right? If you add achievements to certain games, then there are like achievement speedruns. Yes, that is something that exists in a lot of games. And certain achievement speedruns are really, really interesting to watch, because sometimes, right, you might watch a speedrun on a game, but then if there's an achievement speedrun, it requires you to do very specific things, then it's very interesting to see, okay, like, how are they optimizing this achievement and stuff like that, and that can make a speedrun way more interesting if all of a sudden it's like 100% like achievement speedrun of something, right, And of course, certain games are very, very annoying because of, like, certain ones just have, like, way too annoying to get the 100%, like, achievement. But certain games have it, like, very, very good, so that you can just get it natural when playing through the game and stuff like that, But yeah, but it's really, really interesting when it's done, like, correctly and stuff like that, with achievements, and stuff like that, and it feels really, really good. Anyway, at number 40, we have Crysis. So yes, I put Crysis over Half-Life 2, and Crysis, of course, was the whole benchmark for, like, is your PC powerful and stuff like that, like, can it run Crysis and stuff like that. And Crysis, of course, made by some crazy Germans and stuff like that, and, like, the whole nano suit and everything, was really, really cool, right? And that whole scene with, you land when it's dark, right? So they kind of hide the graphics, they kind of hide it a bit, but you realize very, very early on, like, I can shoot this crab, now I can pick up this crab, I can throw this crab, I can go into the water, this water looks really good. And then when you start getting towards where that small little town or village is, and then, like, the sun goes up and you see the actual graphics, and it's like, oh man. And keep in mind, back when the game came out, no one could back then run it on the highest setting. Even if you had the absolute top line PC that was out back then, you couldn't run it on the high settings. So that was always the thing, that always when Crysis came out, when you upgraded your PC to an even stronger PC, like probably after Crysis was out, and then you tried to go even higher on the graphics. And then I do remember at one point getting a powerful graphics, so I could run everything on the highest in Crysis, and yeah, it was really good looking. But then I remember the next piece upgrade I got after that, then I was like, oh man, I'm gonna install this ultra graphics mega thing, because they made mods for Crysis to make the game look even better. Because there were like a file that you could go into in Crysis, like a file that could let you go past the limits on certain graphical things. Like, there were ways to make the foliage more, you could basically go past, there were a limit to what the number could go to, but then it was a way to like go past that number. So the game was like kind of future-proof because you could increase like the draw distance by a shit ton more than normal and stuff like that. So you could make the game even today like look really beautiful because you can actually make the game run in like 4K. I believe it's possible because there have been like a lot of mods for Crysis and stuff that to use to make the game look better and stuff like that. And while I would say that Crysis 2 is a superior game, and especially Crysis 3, Crysis 3 is actually the best out of them because it's just like Crysis 1, okay, really, really good, but it has certain like problems. Like the AI is fucking really dumb. Like if you know how to abuse the AI, it is really interesting. And I wasn't super good on the hardest difficulty or whatever, right? And I ended up getting them, of course, on the PlayStation and stuff like that. And I'm trying to actually do Crysis on the hardest difficulty level. But hardest difficulty, a lot of it is like, yeah, you can actually abuse checkpoints because there are also certain points when it's really hard to clear out everything because you only need to do one mistake, and then if you die, like you go to back much back to a certain checkpoint. Because there was one point I was clearing out the place, and I was like, oh man, I don't want to have to do this again because I had done the place like I tried like 30 or 40 times or whatever, right? And I would always almost clear out everything, and then I would just get killed by some random shot or whatever because it was really hard to infiltrate the area and stuff like that. Because even if you try to use stealth, right, as soon as you shoot, you just lose your stealth and stuff like that, right? And there was just so many enemies everywhere and stuff like that, and there was so much stuff you needed to kill. But then I figured out, oh, I can kill some of the stuff in this place, and then I can actually sneak back and continue on ahead, like past the point where you were, and then you could actually trigger a checkpoint further ahead, and then you could go back to the place where you needed to do the objective. So you could get like an extra checkpoint and stuff like that, so that was really, really cool. And Crysis, the whole suit and everything, like maximum speed, maximum armor, maximum strength. And you know, the stealth also. Except I forgot if they said stealth or whatever, you know. But yeah, because it wasn't a maximum, you know. Right, and stuff like that, so yeah, you know. Anyway, at number 13 we have Mafia. Just the original Mafia game, and you know, Mafia was such a big deal, except for some reason, sometimes when you make like games where the discs are stacked on top of each other, it's not a problem. But for Mafia, for some reason, the Mafia, the way that the disc was stacked was not as good as in other boxes. So the disc, when you would take it out, it would constantly scratch the disc. So that my disc 1 was completely fine, but my disc 2 was too scratched, so I couldn't even install the game anymore at one point. So I only managed to play through Mafia once, and I couldn't play through it anymore because my disc 2 got so damaged. And it was like, how could it be so fucking sensitive and stuff like that? And that's the problem with a lot of PC games because CDs are the most sensitive to being scratched because CDs aren't as thick. Like DVDs are way less sensitive, and then Blu-rays were even less sensitive to being scratched and stuff like that. So that was a problem with CDs, right? That if a disc got too scratched, yeah, you better buy the game again. You know, and stuff like that, which, you know, felt pretty bad. So yeah. Anyway, at number 12, we have Warcraft 3D Frozen Throne. So yeah, so Warcraft 3D Frozen Throne barely didn't make it into the top 10 and stuff like that. But yeah, you know, a 12th position, like, don't look at that as being like bad. Like if you're a Warcraft 3 fan and stuff like that, right? Or if you're an RTS fan in general, because, you know, like Frozen Throne was a big deal and stuff like that. Like Frozen Throne, like, you know, like I would love watching Grubby playing Warcraft 3 and stuff that, you know. And it is, of course, well, technically it's Reforged, but, you know, but they made that update, you know, to Reforged, and like people can run it now in the 2D and stuff that, and like run it in a more like HD version of the graphics and stuff that, right? And you can decide exactly what to use, right? And the fact that you can now use like certain skins even in the old graphics. Although I wish that they took all of the Reforged skin and they actually made actual old versions of them. Because there are certain skins that actually exist in old versions in the game that in the game, right? There exist old versions of certain skins. For example, like the Blade Master that you use in the campaign in the founding of Duratar. You use actually Samuro is the Blade Master you get in there and stuff that. And then the thing is, Samuro has a special Reforged model but it's not a special model in. Well, I mean, technically there is a special model for it in the actual funding of the Eurotar, and it might just look like another Blade Master, but it's slightly different or whatever, right? But I think at least, if I remember correctly. But yeah, but I hope that they had all of those, all the different like skins, that they had like a classic model for all of skins and stuff that, because they did add new skins, right? And they are trying to make people play the Reforged mode, but they have like improved the Reforged mode. The shadows aren't as bad as it used to be and stuff there, but it felt so odd because the early trailers for Reforged actually looked better because it actually looked more colorful. The animations on the attacks looked way different. And in my opinion, some of the buildings actually looked way better. But then, did they fucking throw those models out? Like, what happened to those models? Because the older Reforged models that you have seen, like if you have seen how the old Footman look and how the old Tauren looked in like some of those trailers when like a village got attacked, like when the humans, when the town got attacked or whatever, in one of the trailers, you can see like the Tauren like smashing down their things, and not only like because the attack didn't look the same, all of their attacks didn't look the same, because normally, right, all of the characters, you normally only have one attack animation, if I remember correctly, in regular Warcraft 3, right? You only have one attack animation, like you don't have like several attack animations. But the thing is that the Tauren was clearly doing like both doing this, and then doing this, or whatever, doing this. Like they did like several different attacks in that trailer, if I remember correctly. And so that because, and you might say that, one of them is the pulverized proc, and so that one is the pulverized effect, but the pulverized wasn't a thing. Or yeah, it was a thing in Frozen Throne, right? Pulverized. But they did change how pulverized worked, of course. They added more stuff to it. And stuff like that, but yeah. And we're at number 11. Just barely didn't make it into the top 10. Is Duke Nukem 3D Atomic Edition. It's the best version of Duke Nukem 3D, in my opinion. Atomic Edition was such a big deal. And Duke Nukem was such an important character for me. Because I really, really liked Duke Nukem. I looked up to Duke Nukem and stuff that, Duke Nukem was the best. Because it was actually a really good character, because it was a character that was different. It wasn't like, I'm the Ranger in Quake, or I'm Bitterman in... Because Bitterman was actually the guy that was in Quake 2 and stuff like that, right? But he looked like one of those grunts at first, because in Quake 3, grunts were technically the guys that went to Strogos in Quake 2, invaded Strogos, but... those are the ones that the grunt-like characters are the ones that you find in the prisons and stuff like that, but your character begins as a grunt technically in Quake 2, but then he becomes Bitterman, and Bitterman is the actual character in Quake 3 arena. That's actually the character that survived Strogos, that ended the Macron and stuff like that, the character that you actually play as in Quake 2. And of course in Quake 2 you also have the Ranger, for example, and the Ranger is interesting because the Ranger is the character from the very, very first Quake, because he's a slipstream, or basically because Quake 1 is not a medieval game, even though it looks like it's medieval, but it's actually science fiction because it's actually way far into the future and stuff like that, because it's actual teleportation or going to different dimensions is what he is actually doing, like fighting demons and stuff like that, right, in other dimensions. And stuff like that, and that's what his quote-unquote job is, the Ranger. That's why he's a Ranger. He's like an intergalactic Ranger that, like, oh shit, they're doing trouble in this dimension again, like I'm going to go and stop them and stuff like that, And of course, one thing that's interesting also is that Doom, like the original Doom Marine, like the green guy, the Doom guy in Quake, or in both Doom 1 and Doom 2. Of course, Phobos was technically, I believe, the superior officer, technically, to Doom. But there was a training character, if you remember, the first boss in Quake 2 Arena was Crash. And Crash is actually very interesting because Crash is not mentioned in the Doom games themselves. But Crash were actually made into an official, technically, like, Doom character. So that because Crash was, quote-unquote, Doom guy's instructor and stuff like that, which must make it so that she is actually holding back when you face her in Quake 3 Arena, that she is actually holding back, because if you think about it, like, The second highest tier, like the highest tier is called Zero. Zero is the only one in the like elite tier, final tier elite. But it was tier 7 right before the elite tier, right? It's tier 7. Tier 7. What is it? Master. Yeah, I think it's Master actually. Master. What is it? Bones, Cadaver, Doom, Major. Or if it's Major, Doom, blah blah blah, because it's in a certain order, the characters and stuff like that, right? I realized, yeah, Doom guy is there. Doom guy is that high ranked in Quake 2 Arena and stuff like that, because they're ranked in certain things. And I made at least once where I went over like that there were like other characters that made it into certain other ranks because of the enemies that you fight. And you realize, oh shit, this guy or this character is from my lower tier and made it into this high tier, because if you meet them as an opponent in certain tiers, certain characters, and I think I still have the list here somewhere actually. Quick 3 Arena tiers, like it's called Tier 6 Master, Bones, Cadaver, Doom, Sorlag Mayor, and this is the boss of the Master difficulty, and stuff that. And I wrote on everyone what difficulty is the highest they appear at. Kill, for example, which is from the veteran tier. He made it into tier 6. So Uriel is the boss on tier 5 veteran, but Kill actually shows up in tier 6 with the other characters. Stuff that which is pretty insane. And then, for example, most of the tier 3 combat, which you have like Gore, Vrak, Angel, Slash, all of them appear in tier 4. So all of them surpass Klesk, which is the boss of the combat tier. And then tier 2 skilled, you had Bitterman, Grunt, Hosman, Damia, Hunter. Bitterman, Grunt, and Damia made it into tier 3 combat as well. And then into tier 1 trainee. Orb was of course appeared in tier 2 skilled as well. And the Sarge was the trainee boss. And tier 0 is Crash Course, but yeah. So it's pretty interesting writing that down and stuff like that, but yeah. And of course I had Team Arena, which I made up some characters for. So Tournament is tier 8, which is a made up tier that I did. But I took all the characters that were new. So P, Fritz Krieg, Janet, James, Flair, Megan. And then tier 9 you have the Crusade characters, has no leader. Yeah, because it's actually Crusaders has no leader really. Dark Angel, Bradamante, Lionheart, Furiosa, Aroa, tier 10 Strog, Icarus, Enforcer, which is the leader, Gammy, Gladiator, Parasite, tier 11 Pagans, Warlock, Callisto, Khan, which is the leader, Deadeye, Gargoyle, tier 12 Intruders, November, Punisher, Gaunt, Morgan, which is the leader, and Whirlwind. And then tier 13 The Fallen, Abominator, Sinister, Stalker, Neptune, and Ursula is the leader. Then you had Quake 3 Revolution. Other than that, again, at tier 0 you had Crash. And then tier 1 Slave, Ranger, Bitterman, Grunt, Crusade, Hunter, Phobos, tier 2 Freeman, Orb, Hunter, Grunt, Vrak, Hosman, Slash, Gore. Tier 3 Warrior, you had Gore, Stripe, Racer, Kill, Angel, Bitterman. Tier 4 Warlord, Tankunior, Lucy, Patriot, Kill, Biker, Visor, Vadrigar. Tier 5 Lord of Battle, Solag, Mayor, Sail, ID, Bones, Visor, Cadaver, Zero, and Vadrigar. And then bonus round is against the Keeper itself. And Quake 3 Revolution was pretty interesting. Sadly, for some dumb reason, they decided to not put it on a DVD, so it had very slow load times, but the campaign was so cool in that because each character was good at different stats. So that you actually raised your stat by like each time you cleared a tier, your stats went up. And stuff like that. So for example, Doom would end up with like a lot of armor, like he could get way more armor than anyone else, and they were like for example Anarchy that you could play as, for example, would get like a lot of speed, so you would actually be very, very fast and stuff like that. And each of the character basically would get like different stats, right? So that they would be good at certain things. And normally the bots in Quake 3, like the characters that you meet, they do actually have favorite weapons and stuff that they like prefer using and stuff that. And in of course in Unreal Tournament, or both in 2003 and 2004, you can actually see what the character's quote-unquote favorite weapon is. Like certain bots have a favorite weapon that they prefer using and stuff like that, and usually they are pretty good at the weapon they prefer and stuff like that, but yeah. Because that basically means so that they're coded to try and go for that weapon on that stage. And that is actually useful information. Like if you know that your opponent is a certain AI and you know that that AI will go for that weapon, then you can, for example, camp that weapon to camp a certain AI, especially if you know that that AI is an easy opponent and stuff like that, yeah. Anyway, next up at number 10, we have Doom 3. Yes, the OG Doom 3. And Doom 3 meant a lot for me and stuff like that because I had a pretty powerful PC when Doom 3 came out, so I could play it at very, very high settings and stuff like that, but yeah. And the fact that Doom 3 is almost more of a horror game than anything, and it's like really, really, really good with the whole atmosphere and everything, and then the fact that a lot of the story is actually done via the whole, you know, not only like, yes, there are cutscenes and stuff there, but a lot of them is like via the data pads you find. You can find like a lot of story there, and then of course the fact that exploration is kind of rewarded in it as well feels like really, really good. And then of course the enemies were impressive, and seeing certain enemies from like the older Doom games and seeing them now in actual proper 3D like was really, really cool. Because you have to realize that like Doom 1 to Doom 2, there wasn't that much distance between both games, but then the distance to Doom 3 was really, really big. And Doom 3 like definitely felt like, okay, like this is not the same Doom guy, you know, it definitely felt like a different guy and stuff like that. But then of course you definitely, you know, it definitely felt very, very special with the way it was done and stuff like that, because, you know, you might say, oh, like it's a super high-end production, you know, and stuff like that, but they made it like really, really dark and stuff like that, and then the fact that you were on Mars, you know, it had like an isolation feel kind of to it, and then the fact that they made like the zombies feel like actual like zombies, like, oh, the zombies don't go shooty, bang, bang, you know, and stuff that zombies actually go be like zombies and stuff like that, and then they made the actual pistol feel like pretty okay in the beginning and stuff like that. And I kind of wish they would have waited longer with giving you the shotgun and stuff like that, right? I'm sure the shotgun is really, really good, but the shotgun sometimes feels like a waste to use on the zombies, especially on high difficulties, because there's a more limited ammo that you get, and then instead of using the shotgun, it's sometimes better to... But you can also, for example, try and just save ammo just by flashlighting, boom, go ahead, hit with flashlight, back pedal or whatever, I can then hit with flashlight again and stuff like that, but yeah, you know. And then at number 9, we have Max Payne, yes. Max Payne only made it into number 9, which might be quite surprising because I love Max Payne. And not only because I'm half Finnish, you know, and stuff like that, because Max Payne, of course, is a Remedy game, but it's also the fact that, yes, the whole bullet time in it, you know, made it feel like, oh, it's Matrix and stuff like that. And there were, of course, a lot of mods for it, like there were so many good mods, and yeah, I know that it's maybe a bit unfair to include mods kind of as one of the reasons why the game was so good, but it was like a Matrix mod, or specifically it wasn't a Matrix mod, but it was like a Matrix level that someone made, but they made Max Payne look like the Neo and stuff like that, and they made that whole scene from the whole Matrix thing and stuff like that when they went through the thing and stuff like that, and that is basically the stage and stuff like that, and I do remember that being really cool. And then they made that part of a certain mod later on, which was the whole Kung Fu mod where he could do like moves and stuff like melee moves and stuff like that, right? And I believe there was like a Neo skin for the whole Kung Fu mod and stuff like that, and it was a lot of cool, like the actual level editor and stuff that in Max Payne was actually really, really good and stuff like that, right? And there were like a lot of smart things they made in that editor that actually made it pretty easy to work with, right? Because there were certain video games that had like very, very good editors, like Unreal Tournament's editor was actually very, very good as well. And stuff that were like, because I do remember PC Gamer had a tutorial, and the funny thing, that tutorial that they made in a certain PC Gamer issue was actually with Cliff Belinsky himself and stuff that, and you know, Cliff is, you can say that he's completely responsible for Unreal Tournament being as good as it is and stuff that, because he talked about certain design philosophies when it came to making certain good levels and stuff that, like, okay, like where do you place things, like what makes a level good, right? Because you want to be like, okay, like how is this level structured, where are the things placed, because placing things weapons at the correct spots, right? If you think about, okay, like, where are the spawn points on the stage? We can, because, right, if you create like frustrating spawns where, oh, you spawn, blah, now you die immediately, okay, that's really, really bad. So you want to be careful where do you create sightlines, what weapons do you put where. For example, like there's one stage that I think was mentioned, which had one of my favorite music tracks. There was a certain specific stage where the pulse rifle is kind of king on that stage, so you want to get the pulse rifle on that stage. And stuff that, I think it's supposed to be a warehouse or whatever it is, but it has like really, really good music. And in that stage, the warehouse was put very specific in a spot that kind of becomes a hot spot because everyone wants to have the pulse rifle on that stage because the pulse rifle is just so goddamn good on that stage. And stuff that, so that they create the whole thing of that, oh, the pulse rifle is really good on this stage because of the distance that you fight it on that stage. You don't really fight long range on that stage at all much. It's most like medium range or close range. And yeah, certain other weapons are of course better in close range, like flak cannon is usually better in close range, but pulse rifle can just melt faces in Unreal Tournament 99 and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyway, at number 8, we have Neverwinter Nights, yes, which was my first Baldur's Gate-esque game, or basically my first D&D style game. And Neverwinter Nights was such a big deal and stuff that, like, yes, the graphics weren't impressive really at all. Like, the graphics were very, very simple, but from a role-playing perspective, like, it was absolutely insane and stuff that it was crazy with, right? And then the tools that were in the game, like, you could make your own campaign with it and stuff that, like, you could write your own story and everything. You could be like a dungeon master yourself and stuff that, and make your own thing, you know. And I never got good at it. I kind of wish that I would have tried to, like, get good at it and try to learn how to make stuff in it, because, you know, there are some crazy stuff they can do, because basically the whole point of them, like, you might think that because here are the thing, right, there are certain games that gives you level editors, and you might think, oh, the entire game was made with this level editor. Nah. The tools that the devs had was way more advanced than the level editor that certain games got. There were certain games where they tried to be like, oh yeah, we made everything in this level editor, and then you realize, okay, that is bullshit, because this level editor is missing a lot of the textures and stuff you were using, or it's missing this and this that you were clearly using on this level and stuff like that. But then there were games that actually gave you the actual dev tools themselves and stuff that, and Neverwinter Nights was one of them. Like, you can basically recreate the entirety of Neverwinter Nights if you want to recreate it exactly in the actual tools in Neverwinter Nights, the actual edit tools. So yeah, so everything that was done in the game, absolutely everything, all the cutscenes, all the, like, the story, all the NPCs and everything was made in that editor in Neverwinter Nights. That was something that was clear with. And that was just such a big deal that everything was done. And the way also that it works, that when you save something, you basically make it into like a package or whatever. Like, you can package several things together. So if you create a campaign, basically package everything together. It takes like textures, voices, audio, and everything, and stuff like that. And you know, like, it's like insane, you know, how good it was. But it was even good, even on its own, even if you didn't make any custom stuff and stuff, that it was just very, very good on its own. And then it had a few expansions, I believe it had, because it actually they came out like more classes for it and stuff like that, right? And then the fact that you could also do a class, like you would have one class at first, but then one other class you can take, and then certain classes together would unlock certain new combinations and stuff like that, which was very, very cool as well. Or you could use time to stick with one class, you know, and stuff like that, right? And get like really powerful at one class, but yeah. And then at number 7, we have Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, LOD, which is the superior version of Diablo 2. And it was crazy that it was used like 1 year, I think. Or used slightly more than 1 year, but it wasn't even 1.5 years after Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction came out. Which kind of felt a bit bad, but it wasn't full price, it wasn't the same price as the Diablo 2 was, I believe, the expansion and stuff like that, but it was like crazy. The amount of stuff, like, yes, one new act, but then the whole rune words thing, you know, which was like the rune words just changed everything. There were new items, even to like the older classes, there were new items, like Paladins got their shield, because yeah, Paladin shields was another thing in original, if I remember correctly, right, the paladin shields weren't a thing. Like the ones that were specifically like only the paladin can use these, those shields weren't a thing. I believe in the original. There might have been shields that of course gave you paladin skills, but they weren't like exclusive to paladins. And stuff that like certain legendaries still existed, right, or unique items, like there existed certain paladin items, that were like scepters still existed, scepters still existed, those were like paladin items, but like the whole paladin shields, like the Targe and stuff that they did not exist. Stuff that same thing like the Sorceress Wand did not exist either. The Necromancer, the offhand thing that they can hold their heads weren't a thing either. And stuff that was really cool. And then of course it added the Druid and the Assassin and stuff that was really cool as well. So yeah. At number 6 we have Grim Fandango, yes. Yes, and you might say that, oh, it should have made it higher and stuff that, and I did want to try and put it as high as possible because I could have put like Grim Fandango way lower down and stuff that, but I felt like position 6, considering what's above position 6, is definitely completely fair, especially considering how based I am on the other games, because yes, I love Grim Fandango. I played through it on PC like 3 times, I think, and then I even got it on console back in the day, and I played it with the default control settings and stuff that because there was a special trophy for it, and I ended up getting the platinum for it as well on console and stuff that. But yeah, and Grim Fandango is just such great. Like not only the storytelling is absolutely fantastic in it, but the fact also that the voice acting is really, really top tier and stuff that. And then it's a very large point and click game. Just the crazy part, like it feels like a really, really long adventure and stuff that. And the voice acting is really good. Yeah, there are certain puzzles that are a bit on the annoying side. There were certain things that were pretty annoying to try and figure out, right, and certain things. But yeah, certain things do make a lot of logical sense and stuff that, right. But I remember still to this day there is a certain puzzle I don't know what the correct solution is. That I always get it randomly because it's the one where you have the tower where you have to create an imbalance, and then you basically take the thing, and if you count the wires on the floor, you basically want to move it between certain 2 wires, and then use back forward, and you just want to spam it as quick as possible, and then you eventually will use to get the thing to be unbalanced. And I don't know exactly how you were meant to figure that one out at first. Yeah, I can understand, yes, you won't create unbalance, but being like, oh, you're blocking the cables, but then like, how does these 2 cables technically be the ones that affect the tower? Like, why does not these cables affect the tower? And then it's just like so weird, like how were you supposed to figure that out, right? Because I remember the first time I figured it out, it was just randomly. I just went over all of the ones and stuff like that, because the actual fastest way to do it is just to take, I think you take cable number 2 and 3 and you just do those. Because I think there were 4 or 5 cables or whatever it was, but yeah. And it was just so weird that it just felt like was that supposed to be the actual solution for that puzzle, or was this supposed to be a visual clue or whatever, right? Because I thought that it had to do with, you had to watch the tower and you had to time going over certain cables when the tower did certain things. That's what I thought at first, that, I used to have to time this and stuff there, but then the solution felt stupid. There was another one also with the door where the female gets locked up, and then you have to take the site or whatever in it, and you have to make the tumblers get stuck. And then the solution for that is like really fucking weird with how the tumblers need to be. And it never made any sense. And apparently the solution is not always the same and stuff that, which actually makes that even weirder, because it doesn't look like, because you would think that, the tumblers are meant to be the open position, because there is a position where the tumblers look like they're open where there's a gap. And you might think, you want to use all of those gaps. No, that's not the solution at all. And it looks like, but if there's this gap, then that means that it's open. No, that's not the solution at all. And it's like weird how what position the tumblers need to be in to be the correct solution. Like it's really really weird. Because some of them looks like it's blocking, some of the tumblers look like they're blocking as much as possible, like it's very, very thick. And so then it makes no sense. And usually the 2 bottom ones are usually the one that there's the most of, and there's less, but there's not a single one usually that's completely empty. And stuff that just makes it feel weird, and you're sticking your scat in it right? Because, and then you think that, oh, because you're sticking your sight in it, to get it stuck, that makes you think that, oh, it's supposed to be like, like it's supposed to be like a open and stuff there, but it's not, and it's weird, but yeah. Anyway, at number 5 we have Unreal Tournament 2004, yes. So that means, of course, that the other Unreal Tournament beat 2004. The 2004 is everyone's, personal favorite, usually. Stuff that it's used. It's the best of the Unreal Tournament games. That's definitely true. It has the most content. It's actually HD because it's actually 1018 it, and it has like HD textures in it, and it has used so much content, so many characters, so many teams, and stuff that. And the levels are really, really, really good in it as well, and stuff that. And 2004 used to have so much stuff to it, but it's just that the original game, the 99 Unreal Tournament, was used such a big deal because yes. And there were people that were like Quake 3 stands, or, like, oh, Quake is superior, I'm not going to play Unreal Tournament. And then there were also Unreal Tournament players that used, oh, Unreal Tournament is superior, I'm not going to play Quake. And then I'm there, like, playing both and enjoying both and be like, you guys are fucking stupid. And stuff like that. But then there was a thing, like, because it is the whole tribal nature of humans, and stuff like that. Like, humans want to belong in tribe and be like, ha, look at my sports team, or look at my Toronto Maple Leafs, like, ho ho. Look at that Swedish guy that played for it. They were totally like, haha, look at that goalkeeper once. And then I'm going to punch this goalkeeper. It's not that, right? I mean, I know people know in Canada who I'm talking about, and stuff. I mean, he didn't like punch goalkeepers in the face. But he had like a lot of like penalty minutes. He had the most amount of penalties and stuff that you might think that, oh, that's fucking stupid. That's not how you play ice hockey, right? But if you're someone that's big enough, and this guy was big, size-wise, he was big. He was a big guy. He was pretty heavy as well. Like, he wasn't fat, or anything. But people knew, like, okay, like, if you like are someone that mess up the players on the opposing team, right? Like, you can start like making it so that the other team can start fearing you, and if they start fearing like contact with your players, right, then you can protect the rest of your players by being like the really, really aggressive dude that goes after the other players, and stuff that, like the other players on the other team and stuff that, right? And just having that presence and stuff that is like a really fucking big deal and stuff that, having someone like that on the team and stuff that, but so yeah. Anyway, at number 4, we have Fallout 2, yes, Fallout 2 at number 4. Which is like really, really high, like it's insane, like, and stuff that, but I knew that Fallout 2 was going to rank very, very high because, out of the old Fallout games, it is the better of the two. I'm not going to say that Fallout 1 is bad because it's not. Fallout 1 is very, very good as well. And stuff that, but Fallout 2 is what I kind of learned to speedrun as well. And Fallout 2 has some very interesting thing in it because there is a bug. Well, technically you can get infinite levels before you get the manual. When you beat the game, of course, if you go back to Reno, after you have beaten Frank Horgan, you watch the ending and stuff that, you can go back to Reno, and then there's a guidebook that you can get that can gain you infinite levels. But if you make your character stupid after doing the things for the like the rocket dudes and stuff that, and you destroy the enemy, you destroy the Shongi guys, you destroy the supercomputer and stuff that, you destroy that, and everything, and you do everything that they want, the ones with the spaceship, and then you get to talk with the leader of them and stuff that, right? And if you make your character stupid beforehand, you take a bunch of drugs to make your character really fucking dumb. They like feel sorry for you, and then there's an option you can choose several times, and you can receive the experience award several times over and over and over, and you can spam a certain button because the button combinations, like the number 1, 2, 3 and stuff that, decides what option you choose in the dialogue, stuff like that, and you can spam the thing, and then you can gain infinite levels. You can gain 1199 that way. But here's the thing, like level 1199, you might think that, oh, now I'm, because it actually has level scaling in it, but it's technically hidden because you can have a character that's really, really weak at level 99, depending on the gear you have and depending on what skills you actually get and stuff like that. Like, you can actually make yourself really, really weak, because if you're going unarmed, for example, you really, really need a power fist or to make a power fist, or having the right stats in general and stuff like that, right? So it's completely possible to do like a speedrun and mess things up because you didn't go for the correct stats and stuff like that, right? And usually you wouldn't go up to the highest level because of the way the scaling work. You would usually, I believe you would usually stop at level 50, I think. you would do at level 40ish because that's kind of the best to stop at, and there were certain very specific like things, certain very specific perks you wanted to go for, because you actually wanted to have high enough speed and actually make your character very bad at combat, and then you wanted to have the squad with you, convince the squad to go after Frank Horgan in the end. And you usually want to support the squad because the squad can actually get killed, but then also you want to have high enough science so that you could hack the turrets. So the turrets will be on your side and the squad will be on your side, and Frank Horgan wouldn't have a chance. I mean, Frank Horgan can still actually win against both the turrets, and because I mean, depending on the difficulty you play on, of course, obviously. But Frank Horgan, if you get unlucky, Frank Horgan can use to fuck up the entire squad, like, because if Frank Horgan gets enough crits, like he used fucking one-shots the squad if he gets lucky with his crits. Because actually his melee weapon is way fucking more dangerous, so once he runs out of ammo, then it gets more dangerous because the melee hits is usually way worse. And stuff like if your character isn't built right, for example, like, but usually in the Frank Horgan fight it's usually about abusing the drugs, taking psycho, taking like a bunch of jets, so you have a lot of action points and stuff like that. But then it also depends on what build you are. If you're a melee build, his melee form will actually be way less worse for you and stuff like that, depending on the perks you choose, of course, obviously, but yeah. But of course, the easiest run that you can make is actually not an energy weapon run, but it's actually the easiest way is actually the small weapons run, because the small weapons means that you can use both the Gauss gun, like the small handgun version, and you can also use the Gauss rifle. And the Gauss rifle, unlike other energy weapons, it actually has way high crit than normally, if I remember correctly. The Gauss rifle, when it fucking crits, damage when you crit with the Gauss rifle, if you build a character correct and you use the Gauss rifle, like, here's the thing, like, that ammo weighs way less. The main problem with energy weapons is the energy weapons that you're using, the nuclear fusion thing, the one that looks like a nuclear symbol on it, that thing weighs so heavy to have a lot of ammo that it weighs like a shit ton and stuff that, which is really annoying and stuff that, right? Meaning if you want to have a lot of other items, then yeah, it's really fucking bad. So especially if you're someone that's like lower strength, then it's like really bad to go with energy weapons. And then that's where the Gauss rifle comes in, because the ammo for it, yes, the ammo is pretty expensive for the Gauss rifle and stuff like that, but if you get a lot of that ammo, you're not gonna like run out, and it weighs like way less than the other ammo types do. And stuff like that, and the Gauss rifle just fucking kicks ass. Stuff like that. Yeah. And then at number 3 we have Unreal Tournament from 99, yes, the original Unreal Tournament, where you actually had sliders for the bots, so you can make them good at certain things. And for example, you wanted to get good at aiming, or you want to get good at the game, like do what I did. I played like a lot of stages, like deathmatch against everyone, and then I made like insta-gib and stuff like that. Which, by the way, the AI doesn't need to see you, because the AI, from my understanding, the AI doesn't need to see you. The AI is actually technically blind. It also goes via sounds, so that the AI actually hears your character, and that's how they know where to shoot. The AI doesn't even need to see where you are. The AI will just shoot at you as soon as they hear you and stuff like that, right? Which, if you ever try standing still and not moving at all, then the AI will be less likely to notice you and stuff like that, but yeah. But then, of course, I always made a guy that had high stats and everything, and I called that character Planet Cracker, because he would destroy planets. He was the best, like, he was the superior to everyone else, and the goal was always to try and beat Planet Cracker and stuff. That was always the goal, And sometimes I used random boss against the bots, against each other, just to see like how much superior he was to everyone else and stuff. But yeah, and then that was cool. And then at number 2 we have World of Warcraft: The Burning Crusade. Yes, so I put that there. I didn't put Vanilla on the list at all. But yeah, I put the Burning Crusade, of course, because it's just the best. Because the Burning Crusade was a cool defense expansion. Like sure, there were a lot of good things about Vanilla, but if you played Paladin, I was just like, oh yeah, I used to be Holy Paladin, like, because Retribution wasn't really serious at all. Like, sure, you could PvP with Retribution and stuff there, but it was just like, oh, you wanted to raid, like, or do Holy and stuff that, and stuff that, and then protection tanking was kind of like a joke and stuff that, because, you know, yes, you could tank like dungeons and stuff like that, often without issues, but if you tried to do raid, you know, it was really, really bad and stuff like that, because, yeah. And there were, of course, certain dungeons that you were better at tanking than other tanks. Like, if you did any of the ones that had, like, undead in it, you had special spells, of course, against undeads that made you a better tank in those situations, but yeah. And then that, of course, means that number one, to no one's absolute surprise at all, if you know me, it was Unreal, the first Unreal, which I still have the box of, which I have over there, which I might actually take out to show you later. Here we go, everyone. Here we go, yes. Unreal, the original box. Yeah, look at that beautiful ass box. Look at that shiny box. Look at the back. Just look at that manual, and like, maybe I do have the instruction manual actually in here. Oh, how I, you know? But that's not the real one. This is just the real me. Yeah, because I did have several of the instruction booklets at one point. What's that though? Oh man. One of those register things. What was it on there that you need to register? Name, address, country, date of birth, format, software title. How did you become aware of this release? Do you have a favorite weapon from the following titles? No magazine, favorite magazine. How did I get favorite weapon for favorite magazine? I was like, oh, what's your favorite weapon in this game? Oh man, I really like the cue ball launcher. What's it called? The cue ball launcher? The actual, like, you know, because you had the whole ones that had like pipes on it, and it was like in the naughty poly lore, it was like a holy weapon or whatever, right? The one that you load up several rockets or several grenades or whatever in it. So yeah, that was actually really cool. And the box was here because this is an actual cardboard box inside this. It's an actual, as you can see, it's an actual cardboard box inside it, like the toilet paper thing. The not the outer thing on the toilet paper, but the inner thing on the toilet paper is what it is. But and this is just a quick read me thing. Oh look on the back, hints line. I wonder if that number still works. Hints and tips line. Get unstuck. Hello, welcome to. Oh, my ass is stuck here. No, but yeah, Unreal, alter your reality forever. Not for sale in US or Canada. Your ship has crashed land on an unknown planet. Look around. Crystal clear water shimmers. Shadows shift. Alien architecture fades into the horizon. Darkness falls. Walkways glow. Godless temples beckon. You are afraid. You're in the real world, but it's like no world you have ever known. You're an uninvited guest in the fastest, sleekest, most beautiful 3D world ever created. Live it, breathe it, survive it. Unreal, alter your reality forever. And then there's a quote from PC Gamer here, from English one. The most incredible 3D graphics we've seen yet. Awesome AI finally delivers intelligent monsters. Unreal is without doubt truly stunning. And yeah, the AI, like, here's the thing, like, Unreal for me was the Half-Life for me. Like, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Half-Life was so big, like, oh yeah, Half-Life had all of this stuff and stuff. They're like, oh, Half-Life, you could interact with the NPCs, oh, you had all of these things you could do in Half-Life. Yeah, but there were like a shit ton of things you could do in Duke Nukem. Like, no one of the Half-Life stands played like Duke Nukem, like, there was like a shit ton of stuff you could do in Duke Nukem also and stuff like that. And in Unreal, you had the Naughty Poly, and the Naughty Poly wasn't exactly the smartest cookies in the buns, but if you wanted the ultimate weapon in the game, which was the starting weapon, which could be upgraded several paths, you needed to speak to the Naughty, and the Naughty would help you with certain things as long as you wouldn't shoot them, of course, obviously, but yeah. And there were like a whole lot of really, really cool, unique weapons with it. And actually, the funny thing is the Gears Bio Rifle from Unreal Tournament, it was actually the best version of a Gears by rifle is actually in Unreal itself. Because the Gears by rifle, if you charge up the alt fire on the Gears by rifle in the Unreal Tournaments games, you can even you can almost one shot someone, even someone that is full of you get the health vials and get your health up to the 200 or 199 or whatever it is, and then you get the shield battery, so you have 150 shields, which is the maximum. You can actually get one shot by a fully charged Gears by rifle, although it's used called by rifle, I think, in our Tournament 99. And then, of course, the by rifle has been... In 2003, it was actually really bad, because in 2003, it had way shorter range. In 2003, it did way less damage. It was actually a low-tier weapon. But in 2004, they actually buffed the kind of range on it, so now the range is pretty good. But it has never been as good as it was in the original Unreal and stuff like that, right? And, Unreal for me was the whole... I consider it way bigger than even Half-Life 1 and stuff like that, right? Because, Unreal 1, right, you have to realize this was a 15 to 17 game and an 18 plus game and stuff like that, but yeah. And it was, of course, just not only, right, the fact that you had, you can see it here, which is actually a big ass spoiler, the fact that the middle picture there, that's the village that you needed to go to, I believe, to go up into heaven. Or not go up into heaven, but you go to the NOLF, you go to what is it? Is it supposed to be a sun temple or whatever it is? Because you go to NOLF, heaven, as they call it, or whatever, right? And stuff like that, and it was really cool. And then you had includes unsupported beta version of the Unreal level editor. But yeah. Oh, there are also the requirements, yeah. Can I see what it is exactly? Yeah. CPU Pentium 166 MHz or better, 200 MMX recommended. Memory 60 MB RAM, 32 MB recommended. Over hard drive space 100 MB minimum, 450 MB recommended. Oh shit! Audio system Windows. Windows 95. No, that's audio system, that's wrong. Oh yeah, alright, they mean Windows 95 compatible sound card, video system, PCI local bus video card, OS Windows. Okay, 95 Windows NT, network and internet, because NT was network and internet, right? Yeah, play via TCP IP. So that's the Unreal box, by the way. Really beautiful box. Very, very simple. But I like the whole fact that it's actual, what are we gonna take on the front box? Yeah, let's just take a fucking bunch of screenshots in the game. They're that positive, that the fucking graphics in the game and the fucking screenshots themselves, that's how you are, oh man, what are we gonna have on the box, right? Because normally on the boxes, the pictures from the game is only on the back. But here they decided, we are so comfortable with, showing off the graphics and being the graphics is a big deal in this, so that they go ahead, right, and you get the scar there on the left. That's the first scar encounter, actually. If I remember correctly, that's the corridor that's dark and then it lights up or whatever, or maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, of course. There's a lot of cool locations here that I do remember and stuff, that because, And the funny thing is the one that's here, this one here. That's the OMD rifle, which is the rifle that basically known as the shock rifle in Unreal Tournament and stuff like that. Although the funny thing is that the minigun in that is the one that shoots crystals. That one never became available in Unreal Tournament, which I don't think it was available in Unreal Tournament in other games. Although I think that it got modified in by someone and stuff like that, but it didn't really replace the regular minigun, but it was just so very, very unique, the fact that you could shoot all crystals with it and stuff like that. Was because there was a whole lot of weapons in Unreal that felt unique to the world of Unreal and stuff like this thing that shoots crystals, but you're in a mine and you can clearly see where the crystals come from and stuff, that's right. And then the flag cannon, right? Yeah, the flag cannon shoots shrapnel and stuff that. But then you realize, this is the reason why it shoots shrapnel, because there's basically lore to the guns. There's lore. that explains like, okay, this is why this gun functions like it is. Like the Gears by a rifle, you fucking the first time you find it in a fucking toxic waste place where you have like enemies that kind of wears like suits and stuff there, right? Because like fucking this is fucking toxic waste that you're actually shooting with the bio rifle and stuff like biological rifle pretty much. But it's like it could have been called like waste rifle. It could have come like a nuclear waste rifle or something like that because it literally melts your skin off, and stuff like that. That's why it's so cool. But yeah. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed these top 20 best PC games of all time. Next list I will do is the Super Nintendo list, and that will probably get one shot because I kind of know what SNES games to put on there. Although technically, all the SNES games that will be on the list won't be games that I technically owned. Some of the games were games that I really need to copy, so that which is why I'm doing this to know, so I don't pee myself. But on the SNES list, there were games that I did not own, that I only played via ROMs and stuff like that, because they weren't available here, or they were like really, really hard to get your hands on and stuff like that, right? But certain of those games like Super Mario RPG, any of the Final Fantasies, like Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6, I only played through those means and stuff like that, so yeah. So I'm pretty certain that I know what the top 20 games are just going to be and stuff like that, and there's going to be that list is going to be fairly easy to make and stuff like that. And maybe I will make that list this year, even though I said that this will probably be the last video of the year, depending on how busy we will be with real life stuff, It might be way less busy than we think, and stuff like that, right? It depends on totally what's going to happen and stuff like that, but yeah. But I hope you all enjoy this, and I'll see you all next time.